Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It is New Model Week. It is, but before I get to New Model, I wanted to finish up a little bit of what I started yesterday. Yesterday, I had put the epoxy sculpt in the stands here to form to the bottom of Nell, and today I've painted everything black, and then I put some felt strips over the top so that this will protect the paint. And right now, I think it's time to go get Nell and set her on the stand. And here is Nell on the stand. Now, the more eagle-eyed among you might notice, but I did a little work on her over the weekend. I took one last pass with a rust wash, a dark rust wash, and just hit some of those brightest spots to knock them back just a tiny bit. But there she is on the stand. I gotta touch that little ding here. Actually, I think I've got some brown stain that I could put in there, and then we will be well and truly finished with Nell, and I can take some pictures and call her a done thing. Well, welcome back. It's Monday. It's New Model Day, and because I'm in between ships, I thought this would be a great time to get back and doing a figure. Not only a figure, but a beauty figure, which is kind of the toughest thing to do. This week we are going to work on the Maya figure from Garage Kits US. These are the same fine folks. Here's a picture. These are the same fine folks that did the Abril Ball figure that I picked up at Wonderfest. And I picked this up last year at Wonderfest, and I made sure I got the quarter scale, the big one, because painting faces is hard enough without making them smaller. But it's a 3D printed kit. It is Maya from Season 2 of Space 1999. The rather nakedly obvious attempt to make it more like Star Trek. You bring in a resident alien. You bring in, of course, this is Fred Freeberger. You bring in a resident alien, somebody who can comment on those wacky humans, somebody that you can interject some color and some life and a laugh every once in a while, for God's sakes. The first season was deadly serious, and it needed to get lightened up and made more colorful, and that's what Maya's job description was, and I think she did it admirably. You always wonder about shows with a premise like 1999. I give it the same premise as Gilligan's Island. It's the same premise. It's like you can kill people, you can have people disappear, you can have attrition, you can have damage, and that's understandable because they have no new resources. They got no way to replenish. I always wondered about the computer paper that Kana was always pulling out of the computer in the first season, or Victor was. It's like, eventually that's going to run out. What are they going to do when they got no more paper coming out of the computer? But it was very hard to understand where Tony came from, because Tony appeared out of midair, and you were supposed to believe he's been with them all along since they left the Earth on that fateful day back in 1999. You could understand, okay, maybe Victor passed on, maybe Paul, met with an untimely end, or they found a planet and he said, "Hey, Commander, I'm settling down here. I don't care about the rest of you. Y'all go on. I'm going to settle here. I'm going to take, I don't know, a couple, maybe a nice crew lady, a nurse or something, and I'm going to go settle down on this planet. You write me back if you ever find a place." But where does somebody like Tony come from? He must have been a lower decker that came up through the ranks. Anyway, we're not building Tony, we're building Maya. And again, another one of the things they did was they introduced those colorful jackets just to break up all of the, what I used to call the moon beige alpha, when they used to break up all of the boring white and beige and HAL 9000, inspired mid-century modern aesthetic, a little bit of atomic furniture design, that type of stuff. So we've got Maya, played by Catherine Schell, who was also in Guardians of Piri in the first season. Highly recommended if you haven't seen that. But we're going to be building this kit. I don't know if we'll finish this week. I'm experimenting with a slower and more leisurely style of working, and we're going to see how far that goes or how long I can keep up with it. But now it's time to play everybody's favorite game. Let's meet the parts.
Let's meet the parts.
And here are the parts. Now, it won't be any surprise to you, anybody who watched me do the Admiral Ball figure, but these are exceptionally well printed and very, very clean. I don't think there will be much of any cleanup to do on these. We've got some holes to fill because of the way things are printed these days. We've got the pepper shaker, what I call the salt shaker holes there. I don't know why. I guess it's because it printed in probably in this orientation that they needed a drain hole right in their forehead. But we need to fill those in with a tiny bit of the probably of the UV resin, and then we'll take care of that. But that's a beautiful face sculpt. That's absolutely gorgeous. Wonderful face sculpt, and a big old shock of hair too. Looks like a little bit like Cthulhu here. Looks like an octopus. But none of this on the inside worries me in the least. Here we have again, we have the salt shakers to deal with. But the way this locks on, very clean, very happy with that. Probably I might want to warm this up just a little bit as I'm putting them together. I might want to drill out a little bit on here just to make sure those close up real good. But you know, just the slightest bit of gap there to worry about. We've got the lovely torso here. Now in here we've got details for the stitching. There's of course, anyone who's familiar with these uniforms know they are a basic yellowish, white, beigeish color, but the different the collars and the left arms on them are color coded to your area of expertise, and this is an orangish red. It's not a bright red and it's not a bright orange. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, and it really accentuates her coloring. I wonder if they went through several to choose before they decided what branch to put her in. But we've got a lovely torso here. That LSRO is going to be a joy to paint. I'll tell you that right now. One thing I had been scouring, I looked through all the packaging, didn't see it anywhere. Ultimately, I went online and messaged Jesse, and I said, what did you guys do for the badge? Because I didn't get a badge in my box, and was there one provided? He said, no, they found something online. So I'm going to have to scour the old internet myself to find artwork to do this badge here, and also for the screen, I'll find Tony's smiling face. But I need to put a screen in the comm lock. The rest of it is, anybody who's painted this comm lock knows it's going to be a bit of a challenge getting the numbers right, but it's darned accurate. It's very nicely well done. And again, this is quarter scale, so it's 1/4 the size of the model comm lock. But I love how the hand fits right around it. It looks wonderful. It just gives you the whole idea of something that is actually being gripped by a hand and has weight to it. So that'll go in the wrist like this, and I think I'm going to, because the seams are so obvious at the shoulders here, unlike Admiral Ball, these seams are an obvious joint. So I think what I'm going to do is just paint them separately and then attach them, because there's not going to be any need to try to do anything more than a simple line of where the adhesive hits it to fill in that seam. It doesn't have to be smoothed over or anything. It's an actual seam in the garment, so we're good there. And of course, this is a completely different color, so I think I'm going to be in better shape to leave the arms off as I'm painting. And then we've got this neat base, which, you know, very, very 70s, very mid-century modern. We're going to get a nice finish on this. And we've got the gray, and we can put the moon base in. So we have quite a few opportunities for some fun. Not the most challenging build in the world, but, you know, figures rarely are a challenging build. They're all in the painting. So this will go something like this. And the nice thing is it'll take up minimal shelf space once it's done. It's got a very feminine stance here. Let's see, the arm kind of goes in like that. And the other hand with the comm lock kind of sits down like that. So yeah, it's a very, very casual build, but it's all going to be in doing that likeness. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? It is Tuesday, and I just had a bit of a speed run through season 2 of Space 1999 on the old DVD player, just to kind of refresh myself. It's been a while since I've seen it, and one thing I want to tell you is, well, the reason I wanted to do it is because I had a couple of distinct different memories, and I needed to reconcile them. The tail of the sideburn. I know it's not a sideburn. I know it's not hair. It's simply brown makeup. On Catherine Shell, let me get a pencil. Hold on. Pencil. Here we go. Sorry, I'm back. On Catherine Shell's lovely cheekbones, there was a series of, well, there was a set of brownish makeup sideburns, mutton chops, if you want to, whatever you want to call them. In the first handful of episodes of season 2, I'd say everything up to New Adam, New Eve. It starts right about here, makes a little curly Q right around her cheekbone, and then it comes out. Sorry, let's get this on camera because I'm only going to mark this printed piece up once. It comes up something like that. And then it encompasses her whole ear and comes up like that. And that's kind of how it looks and this is a dark brown, throughout the first 3 or 4 episodes. That's the curly Q. Now, and it's a fairly, I want to say fuzzy. It's not a defined line. It's a put on like an eye makeup. It's a blush line, but it's maybe it comes down a little bit like that, but it is it's a soft line. It's a soft outline. That's the word I'm looking for. That's kind of what it looks like in the first few episodes. By the time we get past that and into the majority of the season, it kind of comes down like this, and it varies from episode to episode as to how curly that end of it is. But it comes down like a curly Q, and it's very thin, and it goes back up like that, and it doesn't encompass her ear at all. Her ear has no makeup on it, and I don't know whether that was her preference or the production company's preference. Maybe she was tired of going home and washing her ears off every day, but it looks more like that towards the end of the season. Now, there was one weird episode where both edges of the mutton chop, or the sideburn, or whatever you want to call it, were very sharp and distinct. I'm going to go ahead and erase this off. It was very hard-edged makeup. For the majority of it, though, it was a very hard-edged top that came down something like that. But then the bottom of it was softer, sort of like they took they put a template up to her cheek basically, and airbrushed this line, and then let the bottom of it feather away, which is very, very probably what they did. They just airbrushed the makeup on her. I know that they were using airbrushes for makeup. Most famously, you go back to what Daryl Hannah did as Pris in Blade Runner. They just basically sprayed on the makeup. but that would give you a harsh line along the top, and that followed her very prominent cheekbones. But it would give you a soft line along the bottom that would follow that shape. And that shape changed from episode to episode. Sometimes it was a 2-point turn. Sometimes it was a really nice arc. Sometimes it went like that and then curled up at the bottom. At various times it came further and further out from her face. So I'm saying all of that to say this. I don't think there's any real wrong way to do this. What I'm going to do, that sculpt is very good. That sculpt is very accurate. It's going to be a pleasure to paint. And of course she had very prominent inner eye makeup. Just penciling it in like this, you can kind of get a feeling for the eye makeup that was done. And these brown warts for her eyebrows. But I think we are going to take the opportunity, I use the royal we, when I'm going to paint this is, I'm going to paint, because I just chose the way I like the thinner one. I think, and this is the example that is given to you with the print, or with the model kit. You're given this example, and it is, now her lips were never that red. Her lips were more of a pink. They were, and the eye makeup was more pink. I can pull up some references, and I will in a minute, but her lips were never done in a ruby red like that. Now you can justify these production inconsistencies by saying, hey, Maya's a metamorph. She can shapeshift. She could change her makeup on a whim. If she wants to have blue eyes one day, she'll have blue eyes that day. If she wants to have green eyes the next, she'll have green eyes the next. So you can justify it by saying, hey, today on this whim, she chose not to have the long sideburns. But we're going to do something that comes down and does this. I think the long skinny look is better for her. And I think that's why they chose that. The point I need to worry about is making sure that the two cheekbone, or these two bits here, the points of her sideburns are in the same spot. And I think what I'm going to do is maybe cut this in vinyl, this arc, so that I can flip-flop it and make sure that it's the same on both sides. I started massing in the colors, and the obvious place for me, at least, to start was the hair. This is just my favorite mahogany color. Just a light, like I said, I'm massing in the colors. I'll put the skin tone up next to that, and doing the big chunk of the wig. And again, like I've said 100 times before, that's 90% in the sculpt. If it ain't in the sculpt, look at that beautiful detail you're getting there. It's coming out a little darker on camera. Of course, this is an undercoat, and then we'll put some highlights over top of that. But that is 100% in the sculpt. That's just me spraying paint on it. It's nothing special about that. Any ham-fisted goon could do it. And now everything has a base coat of color on it. Both sleeves, the torso, the head, the hair, the hands down here, everything but the base. And I think I need to go find that now. It's going to be different because I want a high gloss white on the ball. And I need to mask off the moon base part of that, and maybe the circumference around the bottom. I don't know. I think I can sit on that one for a while. I don't think I need to address it just quite yet, but I'm thinking that I want to make it it looks like those, it's a big ball, and it looks like those 70s Men in Black type of big chairs. They also used those chairs on 1999, maybe more in the first season, but the big, the big egg chairs. Alrighty, I'm coming back at the end of the day here and doing some test fitting. Well, not test fitting. I've been test fitting. I'm talking about final fitting. Once you get some paint on here, sometimes it thickens up the parts to the point where they don't fit so well anymore. And I was noticing that when I put her head down into her neck, that her hair was sitting up above the shoulder here. Now, after shaving down a bit of her neck, a bit of this hard edge here, and also carving out a little bit of the collar here, I've noticed that it will slide down in further, and that fits so much better now. So we're in great shape here. And I think that's good for today. I think that's a good place to leave it. I've got a base coat of paint on everything. And put the hand in here. I think that's looking lovely for the end of day one. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. It's Wednesday. The week is starting to fly by, and I'm doing that thing again, which I don't like to do, and I need to stop, and I'm going to stop, and that is bouncing around from piece to piece. I need to pick up a piece and finish it, and then move on to the next piece. But it's been working out that way, so I've got things moved along far enough that I can stop doing that. This morning I took a few minutes and painted in the comm lock. Now look at those tiny numbers. I don't mind telling you, that was some fun, but I've got it all done. I've got to put the picture of Tony in there, but I'm going to spray this with a clear finish first before that happens. But that is a piece that is done that I can move to the side and not keep fiddling with. I think that I am about to say the same on the big chunk of her hair. I would like to dry brush some highlights on that though. So I don't know if I'm going to do that after it's all been put together or whether I'm going to try to do that now. But that's a piece I need to stop fiddling with. I'm starting to work on the flesh of the hands, and I'm trying out a technique that I think is going to work just fine. I'm going to carry that to the face right now. But the big thing that I need to get off of my plate today is the tunic. I've went back in and I've sprayed that's actually a buff color into the folds and the creases. It's washing out here on camera, but the folds and the creases have a nice buff color in them. And I'm going to do a light pass over top of it with the off-white again to bring out some of the highlights. And then I'm going to spray it and seal it. And then I'm going to go back in and paint the stitches. Now that I know that it can be done, I'll paint those stitches back in, and the zipper. Actually, I'm going to wait till the arm's on to paint the zipper. But we'll paint the stitches back in, and then we'll attach this arm, which is also right here, and it's looking good. It needs the same amount of work done to it, but that would get this kind of off of my plate. I'm going to come back in and rework the details on her belt, but I want to keep this clean, I guess is the right term. Get it out of the way. But the fun stuff I'm going to do today is to start working on her face, and we're going to do the scary part first. And the scary part involves. Make sure I've got my colors out, because I just did the hands this way, and I'm going to do the face this way too, using that purple and that red. I'm going to make sure I got my, there you go. Got that purple and that red. We're going to paint some undertones on the face. Okay, I took a cleaning of the brush to get it done, but that looks horrible. Don't you agree? Yes, that's horrible. Absolutely, tremendously horrible. and we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to come back and fix it. But it's going to give us all kinds of lovely undertones for the actual flesh color when it comes time to put it over it. And I'm just doing a little bit of spotty to make the skin look a little less regular, a little less perfect. And again, hopefully this all comes out in the wash when we go to put the flesh tone over it. So I have done the white or the off-white on the tunic and the sleeve. Forgive the glare of the overhead light. I've got those two done, and I'm letting them dry before I put the flat coat over those. Put a flat coat over them to kind of lock those colors in. Then I'll go back in and hand paint the stitching and get ready for the right arm to be attached. The thing to do now is to probably touch up you can see the pre-shading I did on this with that darker brown. I need to bring the orange back up on the sleeve, and then we're pretty much at another standstill while we wait for that to dry. I'll put a flat coat over the sleeve, then I'll move the whole tunic off the stage to dry, and then once that tunic has dried, I can come back in and repaint the collar and the stitching and the patch there. Playing with the big wig. And I gotta tell you, this is a dry brusher's Candyland here. This is, if you want to practice your dry brushing, or if you like doing dry brushing like I do, this is beautiful. It is a joy. It is everything you want to do in dry brushing and more. You can just have a field day with this, and I am putting in just some various shades of rusts and browns and chestnut colors on an open fire to get you into the holiday mood. But that's lovely. Look at all the dimension you're getting out of that just from a simple dry brushing. That's lovely. I wonder how much this dang thing weighed. If I ever got the chance to speak with Ms. Shell, I would ask her how much that freaking wig weighed, because it couldn't have been easy to be hoisting that thing around all day. And of course, the face is still the ugly shade of purple, but we're going to be taking care of that soon enough. I'm going to, let me see if I have some Enchanted Evening. Some dark brown available to me. I don't want to wash. I want a thicker brown. Okay, I'm going to continue this, and I think the next thing we're going to do is the lightest version of the orange. I have sprayed that, and it was in the midst of watching that dry when I picked up the hair and started playing with it. So that's, again, why I need to stop distracting myself and get on to finishing parts that I actually need to finish. So, move the head off of the table there. Give me only the orange that I need for this sleeve. Airbrush is nice and clean. Continue the shaky on the orange. I love my paint shaker. I do. And we're going to hit the high spots on the orange sleeve here. Oh, I like that. Yes, sir, I like that a lot. It's all about building up the color that you want. This is like 3 different colors of orange to get me to this point. and it's kind of tough sometimes to tell where you've been, which is why I keep changing out the paper towel underneath, because I can go over here and do a little orange spray on the paper towel to make sure the paint is flowing. A little bit more on there, and I think we will be done with the orange. I am test fitting the right arm onto the tunic, and it's a lot sloppier than I recall. That's a little bit more of a crease than I was hoping for, so we're going to have to fill that in. We're not going to fill it in completely smooth. It's still going to be an obvious seam in the garment, but we're going to do something, because that's just way too much. So we're going to butter this up with a bit of epoxy. Get ready to attach the arm to it. I'm looking at it, and I could still paint the well, I really should paint some of these stitches before I do that, but I'm going to have to do so much patching and painting over top of that anyway that I'm going to end up repainting those stitches, so I might as well just hold off and only have to go through it once. The thing is, I remember this being a lot cleaner, and my hands are clean. I have washed them, but it's dirty, getting everything dirty while I'm handling it. So it's going to have to be retouched and repainted after the fact. So I may as well get the 5 minute out. Actually, you know what? I think I want to do the 1 minute epoxy, because I can hold it for 1 minute. Hanging on to it for 5 is going to be excessive. Alrighty, the arm is on, and I've got a little bit of filler taking care of the is that a paint nick? Dang it, it's getting worse and worse. And I've got a little bit of filler in the joint here. Again, I'm not trying to make the joint completely disappear. I just don't want it to be a deep crevasse. We're going to let that dry, and then we're going to come back and see whether we need to do a second coat of that, a second heap and helping. On the other hand, he said hand, I'm really liking how the skin is turning out. I like that a lot. I went and did the first pass of the flesh on, I'm going to sit her over here, on the face, so it's not that scary purple anymore. But you can definitely see the undertones of it. And if I follow suit with what I did on the hands, then the next thing I want to do is spray on a coat of, a misting of the flesh wash, the Army Painter flesh wash. And then we do another flesh pass over top of that to brighten it back up. For something completely different, as I finish up today's work, again, I've been going rounds and rounds over the same fertile soil all day, and I feel like I have been doing one step ahead, one step back, and not gaining a lot of ground. So I want to pick up something that I haven't even worked on a lot, and that's this base. Now, I did hit this with a gloss enamel white. That's kind of why it's been off my mind. It's been drying for 2 days, but it's handleable now, so I'm able to handle it, is what I'm trying to say. And what I want to do is start picking at the Alpha Moon base. I've painted the base in, and I've painted this. This is actually the gray primer with a little bit of touch up on top of it, but I'm looking for the right brush here. I need something that is fairly small, that is got some bristle to it. Just get a little, get the spectacles on here. I'm just going to dry brush in the buildings and see how they look. I think that'll work. It's just going to take me some time to do it, so I'll do it and show you tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Thursday this time. It is the gateway to the weekend. I was overthinking it. I was overthinking the tunic. I basically painted the whole thing over again with simply a version of the buff with some white in it, and did the highlights in white or the lighter color, sprayed some of the straight buff into the darker shadows, and then I put a flat coat over it. All of this nonsense I was doing with that other color, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was just overthinking it. And now I'm overthinking the orange, because I'm starting to look at other references, and it's one of those colors that, depending on how it was shot, how it was lit, it can either look to the red side of orange or it can look to the yellow side of orange. I mean, I kind of like this paler color here. I do like that, but there's ample evidence to suggest that it was a stronger red than that. And it's the kind of thing that I need to decide now before I put this arm on. Is this the right color? Is this the color I want to hang with? There are arguments on both sides of this. The strongest argument is you've already got it done this much. But the more important argument is, how is it going to look next to the flesh tones? Is this a better color to go with the flesh tones, or is something redder going to make the skin look pinker, which is kind of another issue I'm fighting with, is making the skin look. The skin color that I had yesterday was too, it was too masculine. That's the only thing I can think of. It looked too weathered, weather-worn. It was not a delicate, feminine-looking face. So I repurpled over top of that as well. And we're gonna try to go around for the last time on some of these things. I'm happy with the tunic where it is. I'm gonna stop. My question is, I need to paint in all of the stitching. Got to do that. Got to paint in the LSRO badge. But before I settle on a color to do that with, I need to make myself happy with, is this orange, this reddish orange, is this the color that I want to go with, or do I want to leave it be? I really like how it's looking now. I think that if I lightly went over this with a red, just very lightly, and not drenched it, and maybe a fire red, not a cool red. I know it's tough to say a cool red. Cool reds to me are where they start going into the purple range. Cool reds to me are your burgundies and that kind of stuff. I just want to see what this looks like with a dusting of the of this red over the hand, over this arm here. And we're going to move this off of the table for right now. Get it out of my sight. Get it out of my get it out of mind for a second. I am very happy with the color of reddish orange that I've got now. That was an avenue well explored. I think that we are much better off now. It's still not red, and if you want red, look at Koenig. He pronounced it Koenig. Walter Koenig pronounces it Koenig. John Koenig pronounces it Koenig. But look at Koenig's away team jacket. That's red. I mean, that's red. So we're still well into the orange frame here. I'm getting ready to do the most tedious of things, and that is to paint the stitching. I cannot put this arm in place because it covers up that stitching there. So that's going to have to wait until your father gets home. That's going to have to wait. I really like how the hand is looking. I wish I could remember exactly how I did that, because I need to duplicate it on her lovely face. But that's bugging me, and I'm going to resist the bugging by putting it away and to the side, and making myself busy with the tedious stitch painting. Ooh, that's the front half. That's the front half done. Just a couple of mistakes in here that I need to clean up inside the Lustro badge, but that's makes the eyes cross after a while. So now I just need to go run around the house, stretch my legs, take a bit of a break, and come back and do the back half. I have finished painting all those little stitches and the LSRO. And I am ready to sit this to the side for a generous amount of time, and then I will spray it with a flat again to seal those colors in. I'm going to start working on that badge right now, and unfortunately that means going to be sitting in front of the computer, because I need to reconstruct that from some photo references that I have, and maybe draw up some of the detail that's not readily easy to figure out, and then we'll go. Oh, well, you know what I can do? Yeah, I think before I set this down, I think I can paint in the zipper there, at least the background of it. Now it's going to be a brass zipper, not a chrome, not a silver zipper. It's more of a brass gold. So I'm going to put some of this NATO black under it so that the metal will pop when I put the color on top of it. And I need to make it consistent with what I did down the arm, and that was to back both sides of the zipper in black, and then touch them. Then I'm going to end up touching them with the metallic color. Yes, the zipper has been painted on. At least the backing color of it has. And I'm going to let this dry for a bit, because really the next step before I put the clear coat on should be joining the other arm. I should be putting that arm on it before I do any more clear coating. So letting this dry. And while that's happening, I can be working on the badge. We are continuing to make great strides today. I've got Tiny Tony on the screen. And I think what I'd like to do is, after this dries, this is just put in with some microcrystal clear. I think after this dries, maybe I'll put a little bit of the doming resin on top of that, just to give it a glossy TV screen look. And not only are the stitches painted and the LSRO badge painted, but I've got her name badge on. And that, I think, as well will get once this dries, this will get a tiny coating of the resin, just to give a gloss protection on that. But then the last thing to do is to put that left arm in place. We're running out of things to do on this kit. Put the left arm in place, and then I'll give the hands a final look, and give them some last looks, and maybe glue the hands in today. That would leave nothing but her face, and whether I get the face done today and tomorrow, or whether it carries into next week, is anybody's guess. Well, the next logical step is to add the left arm here, so let's get out a little bit. We're not going to go nuts. Just a little bit of epoxy. I think yesterday maybe we put too much on the right arm. So we're just going to, well, if I can ever get it to come out of the bottle. We're down to getting to the bottom of the bottles of the epoxy, so it's like maple syrup. It takes a little longer to get out. Okay, so we're doing the old human clamp again, and I'm just holding that in tight against the shoulder just to keep it from rocking back and forth. It's a nice natural joint there with the colored sleeve and everything, so we don't have to go too nuts with trying to make the seam disappear. It's going to be there. Okay, so let's get the camera out of the way and let this heal. And here's your first look of the fully armed Maya. Yes, we've got both arms on now. I think I can go ahead and paint that zipper, although I am kind of curious. I'm curious what the flat coat is going to do to that piece of paper. I'm more curious about what a flat coat would do to something that's got resin on it, whether it would fog it over. So I think I need to test that, and then I will know better which way to proceed. I'm thinking that I want to wait till this is painted so I can go back and put the metallic on top of the, wait until it's clear coated to paint the metallic on top of the clear coating. But very happy with the rest of how this body is working. And I've got the base in the other room. That's mostly done. I'm still very happy with her hands, but I got to kind of do the hands and the face together. I don't want the skin tones to not match. Very happy with her hair. Of course, I've got to get the front of the hair to match what I've done on the back of the hair, and that's going to be a facial issue. This is about the only thing that's left. So I think what I need to do right now is I can take this doming resin, I can put it on one of these printouts and zots it with the light. First I want to spread that out as it should be. Then I want to zots it with the light and then spray it with a clear coat and see what it looks like. Okay, I've tried it both ways and it looks like I can just spray the flat over the paper that's glued down, and then I can put the epoxy, or put the doming resin, the UV resin over top of it to get the gloss back. Then I was thinking about it. It's just like fixative. If you spray a flat finish over pastels to fix it in place, hence the term fixative. It's very much like using a flat clear. I was afraid it was going to activate the paper or the toner or something, but so I'm happy. I can go ahead and spray. See here, I've got the hands in, and I'm really happy with how those look. I don't have the comm lock in her hand yet, but I've got the head kind of positioned in there, and you can see what's going on. This is obviously can be easily removed, but I think I am going to spray flat over everything that is not the flesh and her hair. Just spray flat on that and get it all finished up. The LSRO is not very clean, but I beg you, look at the actual one. The actual badge on her chest in the series that was broadcast looks like it was made for a grade school play. That is not a great looking badge. So mine, I think, looks, if anything, looks a little better than the real life one. But here you can see what I was talking about as far as the zipper being brass or a gold. It's definitely in that spectrum. It's not a chrome or a nickel or a gunmetal. It's not a cool metal. It's definitely a brass or a gold. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Friday. It's the last work day of the week, the last work day on Maya for this week, and you might notice something is missing. Yes, that's I'm saving face. I am saving face because that is the last thing that needs to be done. I don't know if we're going to get Maya finished today. I don't want to rush the paint job on her face because it is, I believe it's going to take some time. It deserves to take some time. So we're going to start by roughing in some more color. I've got the hairline defined. That is the wrong color. It needs to be much darker than this. But I've got it defined. I got her eyebrows drawn in. I'm back. I had to sneeze. But we're going to start working in some of the more delicate coloring on her face. And we'll see how far we get. We've got some very big blue, expressive blue eyes to paint. And then her elaborate eye makeup, which is the definition of smoky eye. I mean, we've got a lot of smokiness going on out here. Of course, the insides of her brow are very defined. And then we've got those cheekbone, or the cheek stripes, the mutton chops, the sideburns, whatever you want to call them. And give me a second here to warm up the computer, and I will show you the two different styles that I was mentioning earlier in the week. Okay, take a look at these massive sideburns. Now, this is obviously from first episode, Metamorph. This is from her debut episode. This, I would say, is probably her first look. But you will notice two things right off the bat. Well, you'll notice three things right off the bat. One, that her hair peak stops up here, and then this is simply painted on makeup. You'll also notice her ear is enveloped in the brown makeup, and how wide this comes down, and it comes down to a very graceful, rounded curve here. Like I said, it also includes her ear, but it's a lot more of a uniform swirl there. Let me see if we can go on to the next picture. Again, this is that same makeup, so I'm assuming this is early in the season. Again, but you notice her hair now is starting to come into that peak. It is not simply painted on, it is actually part of her wig. But again, the big graceful swoops there. Yes, this is her eye. This was part of the opening credits every week, but it's going to help me tremendously when it comes to painting her eyes. And then this is more like what she was for the rest of the season. Still heavy eye makeup here. The hair is very clearly part of the peak. The widow's peak there is hair, but you'll notice how much smaller and more pointed that her sideburns are, and her ear is no longer painted brown. This is probably one of the better examples here. Very delicate, comes down to a tiny point instead of being that huge swooping thing that comes down. No more brown ear. I'm sure she was happy to not have to worry about cleaning her ears out every night after a day's work. This is a early publicity shot, and you can see how drastic that is. Going back to this is seeing how much more delicate it is. And you'll notice, see if I can find a good example of it. That's the picture of Tony I used for the comm lock. You'll notice here how sharp that is. That's a very sharp, like they put a piece of, I don't know, cardboard up against her skin, and use the airbrush to brush that in, but to give you that sharp edge along the top. Whereas this, going back to the original mode, was very much feathered on both sides. Yeah, there's a point there, but it's not nearly as sharply drawn in. So you can see it's more of a makeup effect. And again, there's that real heavy, the heavy look. And let's see. I don't know why you could tell this photo is flopped because the wrong sleeve is orange there, but that's what one of her autograph photos were, that she was photos that she was signing. But personally, if I was her, I wouldn't be signing anything that was a flopped photo. But that's the tale of two. The tale of two sideburns, and this is the look we'll be going for. More of a harsher, more of a drastic line there. But look at all that lovely brownish eye makeup. That's going to be fun to do with those bright blue eyes. Here's what I was saying about the last. I'm going to try to paint those up, and like make it look a little higher. But you'll notice that those last balls are not swept up. It's kind of giving her a little bit more of a sterner look. But we're going to start. We're going to put in the, we're going to start in with the brownish eye makeup and try to work into her blue eyes. And then I might see if I can come up with some template to make sure that both of her cheekbone, or both of her sideburns, mutton chops, are the same size. Just drew out something temporarily on some piece of tape, and I'm looking at it from all angles, and I like how it looks from the front. We're seeing just a little bit. It should be going under the major part of her cheek there. So what I'll do is probably remake this in vinyl and then flip it so that I can make a symmetrical one for this side. I don't know whether symmetry is going to be key here or not. We'll find out how it looks here on this reference. It's just much more subtle all the way around. She does have what it looks like is a little pointed tip that goes up, just the last curl on the edge there. So let's include that. I've made up a set of mirror imaged stripes, mutton chops, makeup effects, and that's kind of where I'm at. Got that, and I'm gauging it eye to eye, and they look like the points are coming up at the same spots, just under the swell of her cheekbone there. So I'm happy with where these are. Now what I want to do is put the surrounding masks around them, and by doing that I can remove the inner part and spray the brown where I want it to be. So it's just a question of making this match up with the positive shape that's already down, and then I can pull up that positive shape and I'll have a perfect donut hole to spray the brown paint through. The only other way to do that would be to spray the whole cheek area, brown, and then put this over to protect it. But it's easier to get my placement, I think, and make sure it's looking right if I'm putting it over the flesh tone and not the brown paint. So this might take a little bit of finagling to get it to lay down around this ear. But I can lay it up against the piece that's already there, and it also acts as a bit of a mask to keep the overspray down. But see, now I can remove that shape, and I have a donut. See, I might want to cut this where it's hitting. Sorry. Now I have the donut shape of where the brown paint needs to be, and I might just cut that high spot off so that the rest of it will lay flat. But see, there it's covering her natural little bit of a hair sideburn, but it then carries the shape down into the rest of her face. The brown has been sprayed. We will see if it's a yay or a nay. Let's take the tape off. Bane of my existence is tape stuck to my fingers. Now this could be blended in very easily when we do the next skin pass. Okay, looks good. Looks a bit like fancy spit curls. I could stand to soften some of this, and I think, like I said, when I do the next flesh pass, that those could get softened down. Okay, so here's the face with some of the basic colors sprayed in. Now, I've sprayed over that. It's been minimized. I think I want to go in with a brush, hand brush, and bring out the top of that with a little bit of the brown, and just start blending some of this stuff in by hand that I can't seem to do with a brush. Like maybe put a harsher line of the brown right in there into the insides of her eyes. But generally I'm liking it. It's just that at this point I usually switch over to a hand brush and work that way. And then, of course, painting in the eyes after that. I think I've got her to a point where I am ready to put a flat coat over the face, particularly the eyes, because it is, I don't think I'm going to get to the eyes this week. It's getting late into the afternoon, and that's not something that you do quickly. You kind of block it off and spend an amount of time on it. So, what I think I'm going to do is going to put a flat coat, see how quickly that dries, and then maybe I can get the hair blended into the wig. You can see the big color difference we've got going on there. Get that settled in, and then maybe even get her lips done. I don't know. So it's a bit tricky to match the front of her hair with the wig, and I'm getting there. You can see that it's not quite there. This needs to be redder than this. But again, you look at the source picture and you can tell that her real hair is not quite the same shade as the wig in the back. So maybe it's art imitating life. Who knows? But that is looking pretty swell. I mean, she's looking a bit like a zombie because she's got no pupils, but it's looking a bit severe. I'll give you that. It's looking a bit, not scary, but mean. Maybe that's the word. And I think once I put the big old blue eyes in here, it's going to turn around and look a lot more friendly. But that's kind of where I'm at. And it's these dang eyebrows. They're not giving me the nice lilted lift at the end. What do you think of the blending on those mutton chops there? Try to do that without an airbrush. I might just get a very fine, see if I can get a very fine spray and just blend that in with a little bit of spray. But I've got her, again, looking at the bridge of the nose, right in here. It's a very severe line there. That's what I'm trying to copy. And maybe what's also helping is the fact that the eye makeup up here is following her natural eyebrow and not the plant-on. Maybe if I cut some of that back, it would make it look like the eyebrow is more lifted. Something to think about. I still would like to get some more pink in those ears, and then of course on her lips, but looking at the clock now, I've got about another hour. I really could spend on that. Could I finish it in an hour? That's the question. Because then we've got to put the clear over the eyes and the lips. The lips I'm kind of happy with. Those need to be a little pinker. But I'm happy with, mostly happy with that color. I think I need to get away from the hair for a second. I'm getting inside my own head about that. Thinking of doing one last thing this afternoon, and it occurred to me while I was holding Maya's head like this that it's a lot easier to deal with a lot of the painting when she's already in the hair like this. When I'm holding it like this, I have a tendency to get my hand up on the skin, which is, a recipe for smudges and all that kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if I could go ahead and glue that. I would have to make sure that I am 100% happy with how those ears look. before I glue this in. And yeah, we do have a nasty seam between her hair and the wig. I mean, I know it's there, and I think it looks like an obvious part to anybody else too. So I'm wondering if we put that in there and maybe not plastic putty, but maybe a little bit of black tulip to settle in that crease. I think that's a good place to leave it for this weekend. Let's go ahead and get the head epoxied into the hair, and that'll leave the eyes and finished touches for next week. And here is where the state of Maya is as we end the first week. Now, she's got a bit of the old Gary Mitchell stare because she's got no pupils. She's like a teacher in the summertime. She's got no pupils. But other than that, I think looking very good. Got the base here. I didn't spend much time on the base there on camera. I got to paint in some details on the alpha base there that aren't quite right. But we've got the hands, which I think came out really nice. Right out of the gate, it was like nothing the first time through, so I was very surprised. We got Tiny Tony on the comm lock. We've got her badge looking good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Got all those little stitches painted in. The amateur LSRO badge. And our head is not glued down so that I can do all of this work. But once I get those blue eyes in there, I'm hoping that it lightens the mood a little bit and makes her look a little happier. The nose is not something you want to see on a fisheye lens. It looks better at a distance, shall we say. But that is the state of Maya for this week. And I'm not going to put her head back on there because I don't want the hair mussing up the nice beige tunic. And that brings an end to the week now. It's weird. I was not planning on it this way. I was hoping that I could finish, but that's not how the week went, and I didn't want to rush it. Everything is going so well on this, and for the most part, first time out of the gate, so that I don't want to rush it for the sake of a deadline of a Friday afternoon and have a bad result as a result of it. And I guess I'm on that 1 day delay there because I spent first part of Monday finishing up Nell's stand, and if I had started my like fresh Monday morning, I'd be done by now. It's kind of like I'm a day off. So I promise I will get Maya done and maybe something else completely done next week. Who knows? We're getting awfully close to Christmas, and my schedule is going bibbity. I am happy to say I was at the last doctor's visit today, and that bites into the schedule. So until next week, when we'll finish up Maya and do something else, y'all be good to yourselves, take care of each other, take care of yourself, and be nice, be kind, be good to small animals, be dumb to kind animals, that kind of stuff. And we'll see you here next week.